Yeah.
Okay, Sunil, are you on a video?
Let me come on video. Give me a moment. Yeah.
Good, there you are. Seeing you after a long time.
Likewise,
Good.
likewise.
Okay, friends, good morning, and it's wonderful to get back into a speaker session of our CFI festival. I thought before I introduce Sunil today, I would like to give a couple of lines about CFI for the benefit of Sunil Kumar. Sunil, the Coaching Foundation of India was started in 2006, July 10th. In a short span of time, CFI established as a differentiator in leadership development. CFI today is the most preferred destination for potential coaches and clients. Fundamentally, CFI has the deep expertise in developing leaders and contributing to their effectiveness using coaching and allied capabilities. So here today we have a large group of people pan-India, and all of them are certified coaches, very senior people. They have been in the corporate life holding very senior positions, and they have taken the call to come for coaching and train leadership, coach leaders into the who are coming up in the next generation. So that's the whole picture about the people who are attending the session today. We'll also be recording this session and sharing it with the fraternity over a period of time. So, friends, to introduce Sunil, I know Sunil personally well, as we had worked together in Castrol many years ago. Sunil Kumar was appointed president of Henkel in India from October 1, 2020. In this role, he is responsible for steering the company through its next growth phase. In addition, he is the Regional Business Director, Packaging SBU for IMEA, India, Middle East, and Africa. Henkel Adhesive Technologies. This is the role he has been essaying since 2020. Sunil joined Henkel in January 2015, now almost 9 years so far, as a business director for the packaging and consumer goods for South Asia. So he has progressively gone ahead after that role. Sunil started his career in 1990, joined from campus interview with Carborundum Universal Limited, CUMI, a division of Murugappa Group, and worked closely for 3 years with them. He also worked with BP Castrol for 22 years till 2015 in various roles heading sales and global marketing and industrial segments, automotive, and metals, amongst the others. I remember he used to be pretty sought after executive for strategy, not only for India, but even for other geographies for the lubricant business. So it was not a surprise to see Sunil climb the ladders up in Henkel, and he's really been a sought after person in many of the industrial groups. Sunil holds a bachelor's degree in technology, BTech in chemical engineering from Coimbatore Institute of Technology, which is called a CIT. He has also completed an executive certificate program in business management from the Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. A little on his personal side, Sunil is a fun-loving person. He resides in Mumbai with his wife Anita. She is an MBA in HR and an established artist who has held multiple solo art and photography shows at renowned galleries in Mumbai and other places in India, including Dakshin Chitra in Chennai. Their daughter, Varsha, she's done her BTech in chemical engineering in India and is currently pursuing her master's degree in the US. So that's in short, Sunil, for you. And I will now hand over the stage to Sunil. So to tell the agenda for the days, what Sunil wanted was he will start with after a word or two, he will start with a video and then run us through a small PPT wherein I guess more than the PPT, there'll be more to hear from him, and then conclude with the video, after which we will have the Q&A session. So this could be about 30 minutes, and then the balance time we could devote for Q&A. And if there are any questions in between, we will also take a note of it. I will try to follow up if there are any Q&A questions coming up in the chat, or I also seek the help of Jagdish or Suresh if you are having any interventions coming in, kindly make a note. And Sunal, before I hand over to you, I want to introduce Suresh Srinivasan, who is in the show, and he is the CEO of Coaching Foundation of India. So thanks, Suresh,
Hi,
for
Siddharth.
joining in.
Hi. Thank you for joining and taking this opportunity, Sunil. Thank you very much.
So over to you, Sunal.
Oh, thank you very much. First and foremost, Hari, for the very, very kind introduction. And in similar breath, I mean, as Hari mentioned, I know Hari for a long time, and we worked as colleagues. And of course, Hari very much being the senior colleague as such, and great time, great experience that we, having worked along with Hari. So really appreciate when Hari touched base with me. That is very, very nice of him. And more than happy from my perspective to sort of share now give and take 34 years of my experience, not only the 9 years of Henkel, but also the before that. That's what I intend to do now in the next give and take 25 minutes, 30 minutes at best. And then really looking forward to the Q&A or the engagement session, because I also understood through Hari and also as mentioned that the people or the fraternity here is a very senior fraternity of people with a lot of experience and wisdom. So I think it would be great to have an two-way engagement, which I think I'm more than happy from my side to play my part for sure. Second thing is thank you very much, Suresh. For hosting me on behalf of CFI. I think that's great pleasure and honor for me to be here, and really very, very happy today that I'm amidst all of you. Yeah, thanks very much for that. So thanks very much both Suresh and Hari for this, and of course all the supporting team for making it a super seamless affair. So before I get into the session itself, what I intend to do is, as you must have seen in the in the note itself, we came up with this whole theme what of at Henkel called as I Dare. Yeah, so I Dare was a theme that we followed across the entire organization for the people, for the benefit of everybody. I'm sure most of you or all of you would know about Henkel, but still Henkel is a little over 52,000 team members and family that we are. And when I say family, I truly believe, because Henkel is a family organization, and also in spirit. So we told them, there are many things that everybody is doing, and I think it is important to bring this to light, and let's give the theme of I dare to maybe change in the domain they're working, or I dare as a team for us to sort of make a change. So today I kind of try to use that as the theme, and try to build on the leadership framework that we use at Henkel. Of course, as all of us know, there are many leadership frameworks, many leadership styles, and everything is right and everything is relevant. So today I intend to share what we follow, or what we live as the leadership commitments at Henkel, and how do we do that in a more on a day-to-day level. I guess that would be more relevant for me to share as experiences. So that's what I intend to do using this framework. So what I'll do is I'll take a pause here, and I will kindly request, it's a very short videos. One is a less than 2-minute video, the other one is a less than 1-minute video. But I think it will be nice to sort of set the scene. So I'll request Sabarish if you could play the same. Thank you very much, Sabarish. I can't hear the audio, but I don't know, maybe others are.
No, we are not able to
Yeah.
hear the.
You can't see the audio. I hear the audio too.
Okay.
Fabrish, can you switch on the computer audio in your system? Only then it will happen.
Sir, can you hear that?
No.
Second.
It's the mission we dare to take up
Yeah, okay.
and change the world. When daring means to be pioneering, when daring means to bring ideas to life, and to always challenge the status quo. Do you dare to make an impact? At Henkel, to be daring is our mindset. It's in our ideas driven by passion and the new ways we're willing to go. It's in the responsibility taken for a sustainable world. It's in our sense of community and the new ways of working. It's in our entrepreneurial spirit and in constantly reinventing ourselves, but only if we dare to do it together. So we dare to change the game. We dare to stand up for one another. We dare to stay curious and always take new paths. No matter what change you dream, what you want to find, wherever you see a solution, whatever it is you dare to give, we dare to do so with you. Because at Henkel, we dare. To make an impact.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Sabarish. So let me start with the leadership commitment framework. So while the presentation is getting loaded, let me first talk about Henkel purpose, and this also ties up very well within the leadership commitments and the leadership behaviors. So Henkel purpose, very clearly is being the pioneers, at heart for the good of generations. Yeah. So why we say this also is clearly Henkel is a 145 years young organization, and we have always stayed, relevant to the times. And it is important that keeping the future generations is exactly what we try to do everything on a day-to-day life. Yeah. So with the purpose, in picture, we have, of course, like all organizations, a very clear strategic framework, and it is underpinned with a very, very strong collaborative leadership structure. And that's what I would like to cover today with respect to, the leadership framework. Can we, can you load? Yes, thank you very much, Sabarish. So if you see the Henkel leadership commitments, as we call, the framework itself. So if you go to the next slide, Sabarish. So the framework in itself is a 2x2 framework where we have 4 clear pillars. One is called as we act as entrepreneurs, we collaborate as strong teams, develop people with passion and own the results. Yeah. So this is the kind of the cornerstones of leadership with which everybody, works. So I will go into each one of them, but also try to sort of then elaborate it with a, maybe a real life example of how we live it. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the first one, when we say that, we act as entrepreneurs, some of the key guideline principles, being followed is how do we dare to take risks to build new exciting opportunities? Now, many of these sentences, or almost all the sentences, have been kept so that people are able to understand immaterial of wherever in whichever function they are working, whichever business they are working, whichever rank they are, because it is important for people to understand that a leadership framework is for everybody. I mean, at Henkel we believe, I mean, very strongly that, everybody is a leader and everybody is to demonstrate leadership behaviors. So it has to make sense, to people saying that, okay, can I do something which is making, things better than where it is today? So, whether it's a production person or a salesperson or marketing person, it allows everybody to sort of think a bit out of the box and say that, can I do this differently? And the second part of it is, how do we drive innovation? And we strongly believe in two types of innovations. Of course, all of us know the research and development and the breakthrough kind of game changers that, all of us, be wanting. But the bigger focus here is more around day to day, can I do something better than yesterday? I think that is the bigger focus of the leadership part here, saying that if I've been doing something, can I think about it? Can I do a little better? So that baby step of change, collectively makes a big difference is how, we think as an attitude. Last and but not the least is we encourage a culture of timely and clear decision making. Why this has been very relevant from a leadership perspective is, when I told about an organization the size of 52,000 here, there is always this big possibility to get caught in, if I could call the word bureaucracy or layers and multiple approvals and things like that. So it is important that, not to say that, any of this is not required or the boundaries are not set. Yeah. But how do we do this really in a very fast manner if we really believe in, wanting to do some change? So not every day, that you would need to do, something which comes as exciting, but when it comes exciting, how quickly can you scale up? How quickly can we do things? How quickly can people connect around the world and try to sort of, make a huge difference, which is the whole thing. But in the same breath, let me also add, for each of the slide, we also added what we called as something like a bit of a, do's and don'ts, like what I told them, if it's going to be experimenting, how do you, experiment it a bit more faster, you try to scale up. And if it is not working, then I think, let's accept it and let go of it. Rather than, many a times, everybody is kind of caught in, things saying that somehow to make it success, but, we are losing time. That also, is not the best thing around to do. Yeah. The other bits of don'ts, if you had to sort of also call out, I think it's important to mention. People always feel that, is innovation, in this case, is left to the innovation team. And we openly, call out saying that, don't, see innovation as a job of only the innovation team. I think, innovation is, it's like safety. I think, everybody needs to sort of play a part on innovation. The other bit of a guardrail, which is again very important, when we openly say that, do dare to take risk, I think it is very important also to equally mention saying that, don't take any risk that will, that will harm the Henkel's reputation or our own shareholders or stakeholders and things like that. So as part of the leadership commitment, not only does person, he and she gets to know about what's the right thing to do, but also gives a guideline about saying that, okay, then how do you see this? What's the thing that you should not be doing? Last but not the least, yet another don't, worth calling out would be is, not to be afraid to make mistakes. And, and if you have tried to sort of stick your neck out, as they say, and try to make a, a new initiative, it is perfectly fine. That's encouraged. And if it is, fallen flat and, and it's a mistake, it's okay. And, one can take ownership saying that, okay, I did try and, it didn't work. So that's the bit of it. So this is one part of the big culture, that we do with respect to how do we really think as an entrepreneur, although you're working within an organization setup and within a framework, boundary, guideline, which are all, super important as well. So that's first part of the pillar that I wanted to talk about. Going to the second part of the pillar is that, how do we collaborate as strong teams? Again, it is the strong part. Again, all of us know that, working as a team is the super critical thing in at any point in time. So here, one of the things, I would rather than really talking on the bullet points, because which is already there on the screen and you can all see it, read it. I would go a little more deeper on what are we trying to do. Again, trying to keep within the framework of do's and don'ts. don'ts. Yeah. The do's part of it, one of the things that we talk in this framework is strongly around, I mean, how do we strive to make others successful? I mean, that is what, I mean, we call out upfront, right? Now, it is very much a known thing saying that teams, are stronger, teams make all the difference, etc. But how do you really think about when we are working, the spirit, the attitude, and the nature should be more around having more empathy. I mean, if I could call it that way, because it is very important that, which department you are representing, but also working with the other team, which is a different department, and where are they coming from. But if everybody is able to see this in the same spirit, then, collectively we strive to make others successful. So not only I am getting successful, but I'm also ensuring that the other person is successful. So this comes down more to a very subjective human nature that we are calling out in the leadership part, saying that not only do we want to make our project successful, but together let's make it successful and be very clear about it, that we do this underpinned with a lot of, trust and excitement and fun. And why I say this is that if you really see the way people work at Henkel, very intense, but equally intense is, you're empowered to, also have a good amount of light moments, so that, you're working together and feeling that, everybody is, part of the same game. Other part of it, which I would also sort of say is, we are very open to learn from everybody. And that's where I told you even today, as part of this session, I will be more than happy to not only share, but also, hear best practices that, that we believe in outside in, part of the collaboration. So collaboration is not limited to, within the organization, but also outside of the organization. Some of the don'ts, which is very important in every leadership behavior, we have called out the don'ts quite, very openly, as I told. Is one thing is we told, is collaborating as teams. Let's say a typical thing that could also happen is, trying to micromanage or control everything, right? Again, it is many leaders do it. Many leaders, find this, different. But we told that, let's try to sort of empower people more and more, so that they are able to do it, together with the team or alone. But, let's be very clear that, micromanaging is not what we are trying to say here. Also, let's not ignore the big picture for Henkel, because, when we're talking about collaboration, what is the big picture? Why are we doing? Let's not lose the whole idea. And as a nature, how can we be having a very openness in mind and not be too rigid about our own stance? Because, as I told at the start, it is also about trying to have this very empathetic nature at the end of the day. Yeah, I will elaborate any of them as we go on examples or anything like that. But I'm just trying to be conscious on two things. One is the time, and we have enough time for engagement. And second is at least give a flavor of the 4 pillars. So if we can go to the third part of the pillar as such, when we develop people with passion, absolutely as such. Here, I'll try to go a little faster here. One is, once we told that, we want to collaborate with teams, it is also very important that, how are we developing our people? And we use this, word, both people and passion, because unless otherwise, one does not have a passion for people, then I think, many a times it is possible. I'm not saying all the time, but many a times it is also possible that one is kind of doing it only because, you're trying to do this a little bit, as part of a role or responsibility, but really not having the, the full passion behind it. So the whole key idea here is, how can we expand people with giving multiple opportunities, so that not only do they get a platform of visibility, but also use that platform to get, recognized, showcase, their work, but also learn in the whole journey. So many times you will see at Henkel, people are doing multiple roles and responsibilities because they are, are happy doing it that way. At any point, people are at least doing some two kind of different, stature of work or projects and things like that. And we really encourage this quite a bit, because we feel when people get these opportunities, that is, truly an important thing to develop people at the end of the day. But it has to be two-way. The person also should be keen, and then the organization is ready to help at the end of the day. And the second part of it, as a don't, if I had to call out only one of it, is that we are very keen that, when we are wanting to develop people with passion, but also it is important that it is not about putting pressure, right? And this is a point, again, we are openly told, saying that, this is like, as I told you, it has to be two-way, and people are, keen to see that they are, seeing this as a huge opportunity. Yeah. Also, another thing about feedback, when we talk about people development and passion, we are very open about saying that, I think it is important that you want to help other person to improve. Then I think it's important to give feedback, but also careful about the way you give the feedback, or, not really giving a negative feedback, which, really does not help the person, because the whole idea is, if we are really committed to this leadership behavior and attitude, then giving a negative feedback, is again not very helpful. Again, not to take me wrong, this is not to say that it's we are being not assertive or being too soft. That is not the intent. The idea is, if you really believe in the development of people, then I think you should give feedback. You have to give timely feedback. It could not be positive; it will be negative. But there's a way to give it so that the person ultimately develops and improves. That is the whole intent, rather than anything else. Last but not the least, the last part of the owning of the results part of it is more around two, three things. Again, owning the results is, I think, quite straightforward in its own way. But also it is all about trying to understand the markets and the dynamics of change which is happening in the market. Because we are very much, again, a know-how organization, adding value to our customers, like many of the organizations here and otherwise. So it is very important to adapt quickly. What's this changing environment happening? Where do you want to make a difference? How quickly can we search for answers? Not necessarily that every time we would have an answer, but how do you do this quickly? The whole idea is, if we are committed to the results, which we are, then how do we do this in a much more changing, dynamic world that all of us are living today? The don't part of it, because I think it is important, as I told, is we do believe that we don't want to create a bureaucracy, but we are more fostering results. I think that is one part of it, and also very much focused around short, but also medium to long term. So it depends on the right balance. That each one of us will have to wear at all times. Yeah. So as I told, I think I think I'm very much on kind of around the same time as I plan to sort of stop, because the rest of it I would like to sort of either expand on something using an example, but I think I wanted to give the flavor of the framework and the leadership commitments as we all live at Henkel. And I'm personally very happy that everybody very much lives this part of it as best on a day-to-day basis. And as I told, I thank everybody for this great opportunity. And before I open up for engagement, there is a very, very short video which kind of links very well with the daring part of what we try to do in one of our Loctite brands. And maybe it's a less than 1 minute video, and then we will go for the Q&A. Srini, I see your hand. Shiva, I see your hand. Thank you very much. We will go for that. And if you could, yeah, 54 seconds video, and then we are on. Shekhar, thank you very much as well. We can't see the, or we can't hear the audio. Sabri, sorry.
No, no audio.
Sir, can you hear them?
Yeah, now we did hear the audio, maybe.
We can hear you, Sabarish, but not from the system.
Okay, but one second. One second. Yeah, one second.
Three grams of adhesive. 1 hour. Eight tons. One brand can make that math work. Loctite, universal structural bonders. So strong, versatile, and durable. There's no limit to what they can do.
Thank you very much, Sabarish, and thanks to everybody. And more than happy to, yeah, we can stop the video. Yeah, we can go for the Q&A. So maybe,
Yeah, I think we can go ahead with the Q&A. I think probably Srini.
Great. Thank you, Sunil, for the great presentation. And I think it really brought out the people element in success of an organization. Strategy is good, but unless the people element and people as a competitive advantage is at the center of the strategy, nothing will happen. My question to you is, while we have seen the key elements of that people element, how do you change the company's culture, or how do you make the people aligned to what you want to achieve? Because behaviors results in outcomes, and therefore there is a leadership development element also to it, to really channelize the energy of the organization towards these principles.
no, great question, Srini, and you're absolutely spot on. So I think, like all of us know, I mean, we can have a great strategy, you can have a great leadership framework, but ultimately, I mean, how do you really inspire the people to live it on a day-to-day basis? I think that's critical. So maybe here, I kind of try to share some of the examples. So one of the things we have done, and I was happy that we could do this in India and have been instrumental for that, has been like we regularly conduct what we call as town halls. I mean, which happens in every organization every 2 months, 3 months. I mean, about what is happening in the organization, India, but also from the global perspective. And the usual frameworks were more around, I mean, sharing the global results, sharing the India results, and then after that, I mean, pretty much, going into Q&A. But then we changed this. I mean, in the last at least 3 to 4 years, I can definitely say, is in the town halls now we have told at least close to 45 minutes to an hour goes in where people share their success stories of living the leadership commitments, right? So what happens is, I mean, any of the things, it could be under the frame of any of these 4 pillars. It is not one better than the other or anything like that. People can pick up and they can tell what did they do differently, in their day-to-day level. To give one example, I mean, when I did this for the very first time in our town hall, we were also very much trying to also showcase the kind of work our women leaders are doing, right? Keeping under the umbrella of the DEI agenda, but also inclusiveness, etc. And we found that, I mean, there has been a fantastic collaborative effort being done. It actually touches all the pillars for that matter, right? By our plant and the women leaders who have been working in the plant. And they have been working in this plant, I mean, for more than 2 decades. I mean, it's not like, I mean, they started, very recently or anything like that. So for 2 decades, they have been doing a great collaborative work. They have been trying to support each other. They're trying to sort of, I mean, really own the results. That means, I mean, generally people feel that, and if I wear the hat of 20 years back, with how many people allowed, or wanting to work in the shop floor and things like that. So we told, why don't we, call them, showcase the work they have done. And we also told that, whenever this is happening, we are very open about, I mean, they can share it in their own language, whether it's Marathi, Hindi, Tamil, it doesn't matter, right? And then we will make it as either a video, or they come on a video and speak, etc., whatever is the comfort level. So what it did was, this example I'm giving as one, right? Which started, having a super multiplier effect. And we call this, 8 women, 1 mission, and we showcased this in the town hall, and people loved it. And they told, I mean, I am also doing many things, I mean, touching each of these pillars and every organization, but it's all about bringing it to life and showcasing them. And I felt, and as leaders, or in this case also in the coaching fraternity, I mean, very much, I think, when we are having these leaders to come and ask other people to showcase what they have done, that's when, it becomes, I mean, so very genuine. I mean, it is not just doing a very top-down approach saying that this is the framework, this is what you're living. On the contrary, I mean, asking them to come and share. Initially, we started getting 1, 2, 3 stories, which we had to sort of get. But now, I mean, I always have, at least for the next 3 town halls, I mean, stories are always lined up. And in somebody is lined up for one of the pillar, one of the innovation, one is something else. But this has now become culture. And, as you rightfully pointed out, Vinny, that, how do you make it as a culture? How do you make it as a day-to-day behavior? I think, I mean, the more and more we talk about it on, multiple forums. I use town hall as one forum, but we use multiple forums, to keep doing it. And that's how we have been able to get this, cascading effect. If I could, kind of share it with some real example of how we have been trying to do it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks very much for the question.
Shall we move
I'll
on?
go next. Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Sunil. Brilliant presentation. I really liked what I felt was how, the ethos that you articulated seems to be very empowering, kind of, and runs very deep in the organization. So
Absolutely.
that is something that really struck me. A couple of questions, Sunil.
Sure.
One is, is there any way that you, in Henkel, the performance management system is aligned with the leadership commitments? And I was particularly interested in collaborative, effort that you spoke about, and, performance management, which I am used to earlier, was typically on individual lines. And, how do you kind of align this to sort of, drive the message in the organization?
No,
Thanks.
Perfect. No, again, great question, Shiva. Thank you very much for asking. And you're absolutely right. Of course, typically, and and all of us have worked in organizations, and we try to sort of calibrate the individual part of it, and the usual like bell curve and all that usual things, right? That all of us are very much used to at the end of the day. So at Henkel, what we did is, there are two performances management system that we do. One is pure performance, and the other one is what we call the behavior performance, right? So the your performance is, like what is the top line number? What's your target? What's the, profitability? How many customers did you bring? I'm just using this for sales, but I mean, applies for every, function and domain as per whatever is there, key KPIs. And it is supposed to be as black and white as it can be, saying that, okay, this, you did it, or, you missed it, or you did 80% of it, etc. That's the usual part of it. Now, coming to the second part of it, which is where the question is, stemming from and very relevant, is that what we also call as part of our annual, performance review program or APR program, is that we specifically also analyze, on these 4 leadership behaviors. That means how is the person on, each of this pillar, right? Then we have a second part of it, which is called a strategic part of it. Strategically, there are 3 elements there. We again, we have, elements around agility of the strategy, judgment of the strategy, and impact that they have made on the strategy. And there's a third part of it, which is more around, did it all lead to some sustained results that, that the team member has been able to show over a period of time. So there are 3 elements which are, I could call it subjective largely, right? And, so the 4 pillars of the leadership behaviors, the 3 strategic, behaviors, and then did it lead to sustainable? For this, we pretty much do it, collectively as part of the whole team. That means, anywhere anybody is part of the team, along with, his line manager and one above, is how the whole group gets formed, right? And then people start giving views about saying that, for this person, he and she, how do you see, the person under collaborating on teams? Is it again, it's the scale, whether it is very strong, outstanding, or needs improvement or can do better and things like that. So we try to really calibrate this not only with the line manager, because that's where you take away this whole, if I could call an individual bias, at the end of the day, but it is given by a group of team at the end of the day on the person, and everybody is calibrated. It doesn't matter in whichever position you are. Everybody is calibrated, and after that, post that, the line manager has to go back to this team member and explain, saying that, you're very good in, we act as entrepreneurs, you were an outstanding, but when it came to collaborate as teams, it was more or less felt by the group that, there is an opportunity to get better. Yeah, you're strong, but you're not maybe outstanding, right? And stuff like that. And they also need to give very clear examples of it. That is the most important, so that, because the whole intent of the feedback here is again, bringing the whole thing to genuine improvement and genuinely living the culture, right? So this is the whole idea, and not just do, with only one person deciding, whether the person is collaborative or not collaborative, etc., etc. So it becomes a very collective feedback that the team member gets, and with that, there are many programs also decided, saying that, okay, if somebody, strategy, as I told, strategy has got those 3 elements of agility, impact, and judgment. Does the person need to go for a program, or etc., etc. So that would be the way we have done this for all the 52,000, team members around the globe. Shiva, if that was helpful.
Sunil, extremely helpful. Thank you very much. And before the next question comes on, I'll just take half a minute for a comment as you were speaking. The good news is everyone knows that there are these behavior elements that will form part of the annual appraisal system. and maybe I'm speculating or, conjecturing here that, people would keep a track through the year of, examples of where they have demonstrated these.
Exactly.
And therefore, it kind of helps to keep a continual focus on this commitment, because, at the end of the year, you will have to come up with, actually having demonstrated this. So, Sunil, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Shiva, for asking the pertinent question.
Do we move on? In fact, there is a question which is related to the subject of discussion. So, if I may ask the permission of others who have raised their hands. Kanu Agarwal has asked the question, Sunil,
Yes.
How do you evaluate these 4 behaviors? Is it 360 or which methodology of feedback?
See, I mean, we have done both. Again, thank you very much for the the question. So, we do have 360-degree feedback, as well. So the first thing is, I mean, for everybody in the organization is exactly like what I answered for Shiva. I mean, that is absolutely, common and done for everybody. I mean, so that's a given. 360, we have taken it specifically for certain management and above. I mean, is where, I mean, we are doing the 360. The only reason, as again, in this forum, I mean, everybody will be able to relate and understand, is that when you have the 360, you need to have certain level of maturity also to understand, this 360-degree feedback, because not everybody is in the same level of maturity or leadership level. So we have taken it to, I mean, pretty much the senior management needs to have a 360, and then also it is we have a obviously a person or consultant who kind of dissects that and tries to sort of really tell, I mean, what people are telling, because many a times, although the person is senior and matured and also at a very high level in the organization, when you do get your 360, I mean, there are certain things where you might get worked up, saying that, hey, I am not the guy like this. I mean, I'm very unhappy when the spider diagram, where suddenly in the scale of 1 to 5, somebody has been rated saying that empathy is 1 out of 5. I mean, I have had many cases where people feel, I mean, this is disaster. I mean, I always thought that, I mean, I'm an empathetic person. And here is coming somebody saying that, I mean, the empathy rating is so low, right? But I think, that is also to be kept in the right perspective. And that is where I think, where we have this an external person really trying to sort of tell what it means. And then asking the person to reflect, after they have given the point, saying that, does that make sense? I mean, at the end of the day, or I mean, how do they see it? Or, do they see it as an exception at the end of the day? So we have both. So the APR, which I talked about, which is for everybody, and 360 also, but for certain, senior management and above as such.
Thanks, Sunil. Shekhar, would you like to go?
Yeah, excellent framework, Sunil, especially about that developing people with passion. So in the time management, generally there are 4 quadrants. One quadrant talks about important but not urgent. Unfortunately, the people development comes under this quadrant.
Right.
So that is why many organizations fail in developing people, because they know it is important, but it is not urgent. Therefore, they don't give priority for the people development.
True.
So my question is, how would you invest required time in developing people while really not impacting the business priorities? And how do you identify which individual needs which competency development and what kind of initiatives in developing the people?
No, super. No, thank you very much, Shekhar. Excellent question again. See, I mean, we follow this principle, what we call a 70-20-10. Okay. Now, what we feel is, I mean, not everybody can be, I mean, kept on, developing like what you told. There is a business to run. I mean, we all know that, at the end of the day, as an organization, the first priority is we have a, day job and a business to run. I mean, that is, super important and equally important as much as, I mean, the other parts that we talked about, which is important. So what is the 70-20-10 principle? Is that, I mean, we try to use this whole idea saying that once we have known, saying that somebody has to be kind of developed, then we say 70% of this development needs to be done as part of the job itself. That means, I mean, the line manager or the leader will have to find out, I mean, options saying that, in that role that the person is doing, can there be opportunities for him to develop better? I mean, that's the first part of it. So that means the job in itself is supposed to be done, but also you try to find out, I mean, is there some opportunities to, do that within the job? That could also mean sometimes, I mean, within the job, adding another project, if I could call it, right? And so that, I mean, not only the person is doing the job, but I mean, he's been put in a project and that gives him that, kind of a platform to learn. I mean, if somebody has to learn about, I'm just taking an example, collaborator streams, is the one that, we feel that person has to develop better, then put him in a larger project, because, there are so many things that are happening. but also allow him to be observed and seen, saying that, I mean, how does he collaborate with the other person and try to sort of, make it a success, or as I told, I mean, strive to make others successful. I mean, so that part of it, that's a 70%. That's that. 20% of it is, I mean, completely, I mean, we give, very much outside, I mean, his role, if there are any possibilities to, give a, a role or a project, as again, it comes down to, which can be added and over and above the top, but specifically kept in perspective, saying that, okay, this is being given because, by the end of the year, I want to see whether, can you, develop a person into, people, right? Maybe 2 people indirectly I'm attaching to you because, we want to kind of see this part of it, getting better. The last 10% is more left to, in case there is an outside, training needed. That means, I mean, he has to be sent to a course, or he or she has to send to a course or some other, coaching or development, which is purely very external, perspective, depending on the need of the whole thing. So what we do is, as you rightfully pointed out, the day job can't be compromised. I think, I mean, the organization has to run, and I mean, we have to sort of ensure that it's not being, taking a back seat. But development is equally important, and hence this frame of 70-20-10, has been very helpful for us, at least to really make this work, keeping the right balance on both sides, Shekhar.
Great. Thanks, Sunil.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Shekhar.
Mohan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Sunil. Like everybody, I echo the depth of what you shared. Certain times, I think, given that you also have some B2C products, we do use Henkel, and now I know what lies behind Henkel's products. Yeah. The only question that I have is that, for example, if in your presentation, I think the 4 leadership focus areas and the strategic priorities that you talked about, if suppose I remove Henkel brand and put, let's say, an Airtel brand or an IBM brand or a HP brand or an Apple brand, by and large, in today's world, with humility, we see that, all these competencies and focus areas,
Correct.
because beyond a point, humanity can't stretch it anymore, correct?
Correct.
So now knowledge is everywhere available.
Correct.
The question that I have for you is that, so according to you, given that you also transitioned some organizations and seen,
Correct.
what are 2-3, leadership, I would say, focus, competency, commitment, conviction that you think is making this happen? Because,
Correct.
as I said, we see as consultants now, we see by and large, the languaging seems to be everywhere the same.
Correct.
But in some places it happens, some places it doesn't happen, correct? So
Correct.
since you
Correct.
shared that these are some areas of focus,
Correct.
just would like to say, specifically, what did you see that there are 3
Correct.
things, 4 things, which is what we are different, and that's why this happens to us in Henkel.
Correct. No, so true, so true. I mean, and that's why, I mean, as I told, I mean, multiple leadership frameworks, and it will overlap into, I mean, many of them, across organization. I think if I had to give, and I will, I mean, try to also use this a little more, I mean, maybe using my own personal experience, but I also, very much using the organization part, is that, again, see, the whole thing, I personally feel, why it's happening at Henkel, and I'm not saying it is not happening in other places, don't get me wrong, is, I mean, keeping it to the Henkel perspective, is you have to be genuine about it, all right? I think that is the key. I mean, at the end of the day. Now, we use many of these things saying that, I mean, we'll need to collaborate as teams, or, I mean, any of the framework sentences. But do we do the, the role modeling? Do we do the walk the talk? I mean, again, I mean, people may say that these are cliche sentences, but yes and no. I mean, yes, I mean, as walk the talk, role model. But I personally feel, I mean, leaders, when they do this, I mean, day in and day out, I mean, then it actually works, right? And that's where, I mean, you are coaching leaders, I mean, each one of you, in your own line, and you are leaders, very much leaders, or, as such as well, right? So my view has been 2 things. One is, I mean, we have to do this. We have to live this. I mean, you can't live this one out during an appraisal time or during some other time or town hall time or something like that. I think every moment, I mean, people will have to live this. So when we say that I want to sort of, I mean, do this collaboration, I mean, let's say I'll take my own example. People do come with multiple areas where they feel that they want to sort of run this, session, right? And if I could just join that, even just to sort of set up, context or set up thing or things like that, right? I always try to take time and go and do this, even if it is for a very short time. And why? Because I mean, the whole idea is when we say that you are living this principle, then I mean, how do you demonstrate it? Now, recent example, right? So we have started off what we called as a feedback culture, okay? And again, very common one people may think, but I mean, how do you, again, regularly give feedback to people, and how do you take feedback from people, right? And can this also be part of the culture, right? And how do we do this? Because otherwise, everybody is so much busy in our own day-to-day domains. So where is the time to go and ask somebody saying that, hey, I mean, just wanted to check with you. I mean, how did it go? Or was this something that could have been done better by me, right? As such. But this is again collaboration. So when the teams came back saying that, hey, this is the great idea, we thought, can we do something around it? And we would like to run this as multiple sessions, across the country. Yeah, sure. And then I mean, get the people to energize around the whole topic, right? So the key element, as you asked, one or two things which are making a difference, to make this, a reality or as successful as can be, I would say that leaders and, walking the talk, and leaders being role models of this always, I mean, or as always as they can be. I mean, there have always been situations or cases where I mean, people are not able to do, which is fair. So the fairness of this, I mean, is the most important, I would say. Across the organization, I mean, everybody is sort of talking the same language and trying to live the same principles. I would kind of put that, I mean, would be the way, if that is kind of helping. But, if you want me to elaborate on anything else, I mean, feel free, but that's what came to my mind, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohan.
Good. Suresh, the boss.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
thanks, Hari, and thank you, Sunil, for the candor and the candidness with which you shared how your organization lives to those 4 quadrants, and that's what perhaps you're keeping glued in the whole organization together. My question to you specifically is, what is it that you and your current leadership team is kind of navigating through some of the business challenges or leadership challenges? What are you currently busy handling? What is your team busy handling in terms of the people part?
Yeah. So again, I mean, great question, Suresh. Thank you for that. See, if I had to again keep it sharp, I mean, to maybe 1 or 2 areas from a people dimension of things, I think 2, 3 things. One is, I mean, how do you build a strong talent pipeline? I think, is one part of it which we are kind of, I mean, seeing as an important part. Now, what I mean by that, I mean, is that we've always known about, getting people, etc., etc. But how in the current generation and the current set of, members that we are having, we want people to be taken and also ensure that, I mean, they are able to live the values and principles of Henkel that, we want them to do it on a day-to-day level, right? And if I had to translate it from the customer side, right, it is also all about, I mean, how do you add value to them? How do you know the know-how part of the business and things like that? So we are spending a lot of time on that part of the pipeline development, right? As leaders, we are spending, we have a couple of projects just to sort of share with you. The one, we did this for the last year or so was called as a LEAD program, which is called as again, a leadership, enhancement and advancement program. The whole idea was it is an 18 months, program where we took, a team of people, very qualified, etc., etc. But for 18 months, we really put them through a very structured program of 3 months in different SBUs and projects, and trying to understand what they bring to the table, how do we give them the necessary exposures, and post 18 months, I mean, they are really ready to take the the big role and responsibility and things like that. I think this is what one end of the funnel, if I had to sort of put it. The other end of it, if I had to sort of talk on the people side, is we are very much carefully but also proactively, I mean, front loading leadership. I mean, what I mean by that is that, I mean, we are in a stage in which we are very clear, and I've been particular to India, I must say, is that the growth is given. I mean, the last 3 years as well, I mean, for me as well, to be leading this whole transformation project of, doubling our business, in 3 years plus that we have been doing, and touch wood, moving in the right direction. Key bit is, we feel we are not waiting for the things to happen and then, bring people or load the leadership. We are already taking the view that, I mean, I think the growth is given. I think let's get the leadership, in place, even though you may not see the, numbers today, right? But it is important that, I mean, we get senior leaders to run businesses. It is not to be spread thin at the end of the day, because, I mean, the whole idea is not about saying that I need to sort of, it's the chicken and egg story. I mean, do you wait for the growth and then invest, or do you invest proactively so that you know that the growth is coming? And we have taken completely the route saying that, no, I think the growth is given. Let's go proactively and invest in senior leaders, at the end of the day, because with that, I mean, we know very sure that we are able to steer the, strategy, steer the teams, because we feel that senior leaders make a super difference, with the stature, but also bring in the right translation of strategy into reality. I mean, and making it happen. I mean, at the end of the day. So if I had to sort of keep it to 2 big examples of people and what we are doing more and more, one is on the talent side at the entry or midpoint, and the other one is on the top senior management level. These are the very proactive differences that we are doing.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you. I just have one follow-on question.
Sure.
In this whole process, where does coaching and mentoring come? Does it have a role to play in this process?
No, we do. I mean, so at Henkel, we have, I mean, we have kind of made this in a very, very structured form, I mean, across the organization. I mean, over a period of time, I mean, coaching and mentoring, we have especially certain, grade and above, I mean, or certain seniority and above, right? We have made sure that, I mean, one, they are going through, coaching, but they are also, ensuring that they are doing the coaching, below as well, so that, I mean, you are able to, get more and more, leaders into the pipeline. So this has been quite a structured bit. Not even today, I think it's been there for more than a decade plus or something like that. So that helps, I mean, quite a bit. Since you asked this question, Suresh, I mean, I'll also say that we also, took one more additional bit worth sharing is, also women mentoring. I mean, is one more program that, we added in the last, I think, 5 years or so, specifically saying that, one is keeping the DEI agenda, but also ensuring that, I mean, we are, I mean, giving the necessary platforms to ensure that, I mean, the diversity inclusion part is very strongly, taken forward. So this has been quite a structured program, and that's how we have been always doing it, Suresh.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Suresh Bhavani, would you like to go in, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Sunil, for some
Pleasure.
insight. I will ask some very specific questions.
Please.
You mentioned that the team evaluates a person's performance.
Yes.
So one you said is a line manager.
Yes.
Who are the other two?
So the thing is, I mean, generally, I mean, the people who are in this group, I mean, so let me make it very specific for a salesperson, okay, so that it becomes easier to, understand. Let's say for a sales executive or a sales account or sales officer, right? For any person, he or she, it doesn't matter, right? The kind of people in this group would be, the touch points like the line manager himself, himself or herself, and then the application engineering head, the product development head, marketing, then also we have HR, and this would be the typical kind of different stakeholders who would be talking for this person.
So
And
usually
yeah,
senior.
senior, absolutely senior, because I mean, if it is sales, then I mean, we're talking about at the LT level. I mean, this would be the person at the country LT level. For a country salesperson, it will be a regional LT group, and a regional LT would have the global LT. I mean, so at any point in time, I mean, they have the right perspective and balance to sort of give the views, and hence we kept it, in this, stature.
How much time does the team spend on each person?
So each of the person, give and take, I mean, average, I would say, average would be, the right way to sort of put it. I would almost say at least half an hour, 25 to 30 minutes, it does, go for the person, because you kind of go on element to element and talk on, and ask everybody, if they have anything to share, would be the way to
Is constant across the levels, or senior people spend more time?
I guess senior would be even higher.
Okay, my third question is, how well do you train the people in evaluation and giving feedback?
Yeah.
Because both are equally important.
Yeah.
Especially we Indians are very bad, in we sugarcoat everything and don't call it and
No, so right. So, I mean, see, we have something called as, programs, especially called as, coaching for performance, programs. And the key bit here is, it is, it's a 9-week program that they will have to, I mean, undergo. And it is quite detailed. And one of the things is exactly what you told, right? I mean, where, you're giving the feedback. The idea is, not to sugarcoat, but I mean, there's a way to give the feedback. I mean, that at the end of the day, so the person is able to get black and white, I mean, about where the person stands, right? That is important to give, but also to give it in such a way saying that, I mean, what can be done to improve? I mean, it is not stopping only at the feedback level, right? I think the core that we focus is the line manager or the leader or mentor, whichever way it is there, has to sort of jointly find a solution to get better. I mean, that would be the bigger focus on the coaching and the mentoring program.
Thank you so much. Very nice.
Most welcome, Suresh.
Raghu?
Yeah, Sunil, thanks a lot for that crisp presentation, which kind of brought out the values and leadership traits very clearly, and also giving a lot of time for the discussions, answering all questions. My question, Sunil, is that, let's say from 2015 to now, what are some of those behavioral shifts that you have seen across the levels in the organization that happens on a daily basis, right? So end of the day, that we are living those values. Right? What are those micro things that you see? Something which is very visible, and then something which possibly is a learning for all, right? And any anecdote stories, right?
Yeah.
And second part of that is that typically, let's say in this kind of shifts, whenever there's a crisis happens, like COVID times, right? Did you see any kind of change in those behavioral where the people really come up and support each other?
True. No, thanks very much, Raghu. I really appreciate. Yeah. See, I mean, if I had to sort of see a bit of a shift in the last, let's say, 5-7 years in perspective, I think one of the things, I mean, I have been able to kind of see is people have done many strides in the right direction on collaboration, I felt. Okay. and why do I say that? And I'll try to sort of give it with an example. I mean, that would make it, better. Is that, one of the things people have now understood is that uh, how do I go a bit on the extra mile, or if I have to walk that extra mile together with somebody? Now, a typical example would be is, I mean, I try to sort of give this example with respect to, let's say, when the raw materials have been increasing, and we always these things go on a cyclical basis in chemical industries, as you know, right? Now, what I did observe, especially in the last year or two when we were going through this, there was a lot of proactiveness by the senior salespeople, to join, the maybe I won't call junior, but maybe they are going for the first time or second time for price increase in front of their customers, and saying that, hey, don't worry, I mean, I will come along with you, okay? And I mean, I will join hands with you to put the right values in front of the customer and tell why we need to get the price increase. So not leaving people alone, I mean, is one observation I saw, and I was personally very happy about it. This is in a price increase situation, but I've seen this in many things. Even when I talked about the town hall presentation, right? Initially, there was a lot of shyness. I mean, to come in front, because, we are talking about, this all India town halls that I run have around 1,500 people joining. I mean, there are around 200, 250, in Mumbai. Then, we broadcast it across, the entire organization. The plants are joining, academies are joining. Sometimes the region is joining and stuff like that. There are people who are, who were quite worried, saying that, I mean, I'm not that great to present in front or stuff. And then I see that there are other people within the same team or others, just standing. Sometimes they're just standing and supporting the other team member, saying that no, I mean, or stuff like that. I think, I mean, so the big change I have found is that people are willing to support each other, right? And not really feeling that they have to get the credit every time. I mean, see, this is also maybe this I saw this even in the youngsters. I mean, I talked about the talent pipeline. I mean, that we have been getting. I found them to be much more open to help, much more open to stand for each other. I mean, if they are going through some difficulties or challenges, I think that is the big difference. I thought I observed. There was a second part, Raghu.
About crisis now.
Yeah, COVID crisis. Yeah. So in the COVID part of it, I think the observation I saw, and maybe it also cuts across other places, but we saw this quite a bit was, we came out with something called as, Henkel, and this was again unique in India in a way, was Henkel India has got talent, okay? Because everybody was, going through this pain, all of us know, right? So we came up with a bit of this unique idea, not we, I mean, it again pops up from somewhere. Somebody pops the idea, then they bring it up and we say, hey, great, why don't we do it, right? So every Friday they told, why don't we just have a 2-hour session where, I mean, for 2 hours, I mean, everybody was on Teams or, connected virtually, right? And including family, then whatever is the talent, somebody is good in singing, somebody is good in, guitar, somebody's son is good in, playing a music instrument, somebody's daughter is somebody, your wife, and, mother, it just didn't matter, right? People came together and they told, this is something that we will do just to sort of bond ourselves better and, become even more stronger, is the whole thing. So the behavior that I saw was, while there is so much seriousness happening and it is such a grim situation, people were trying to see, I mean, how can we bond together? How can we make a light of a situation? Is there some opportunity for us to do it in a very creative way, right? Which otherwise we never did. I mean, Henkel India has got talent nobody knew. I mean, it came because of COVID. I mean, at the end of the day. But I mean, that was the way to sort of, I mean, look at it. And of course, I mean, when people went through some difficulties, I saw the way in and around the territory or their own department, the way they immediately joined. The wife is being given support or husband is being given support. I think, I mean, this, not collaborative, I mean, this whole respect for each other and people and the humility with which people, is the many notches up. I think I saw, it has happened differently. And personally, that's what I picked up, if I put it that way, Raghu.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you. We have Mr. Ramana Rao. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sunil, for very, very practical and very insightful discussions. What I have, you were mentioning about the development of people by internal coaches.
Yes.
With my experience and many organizations, normally initially they spend with the external. After some time, they come up with the idea, why don't we develop our own coaches? Then we will engage them. But what happens, what I have seen is, that coaches were never so effective when compared to outside coaches because they are already having a plate full of jobs. In addition to that, they are playing the role of maybe a manager or some direct reportee. So, do you think in Henkel is it very effectively working that internal coaching methodology?
See, you are very right, Mr. Rao. I mean, the effectiveness of it, I mean, is very subjective, at the end of the day. Okay. See, but what I kind of, I mean, see is, I mean, not everybody is being picked as a coach at Henkel. I mean, let us say, the senior management, and in this case, I'm talking about, let's say, at a certain, seniority and above, right? Let's say in this 56,000 or 52,000 people, right? There might be at best, I mean, 1%, I mean 500 or something like that, is the kind of number who are absolutely senior, right? Now, in that also, we pick and choose something like around, 50 or something like that, right? See, because there are two things that we have felt. One is, they should not be part of their own line manager. That we are very clear about. Saying that, I mean, if you are a coach, like honestly, if I have to again give an example, I have been a coach for different people, either they are in Turkey or India or Iran or Germany, etc., right? And very different departments, like purchasing department is a mentee for me and stuff like that. Now the reason is, one is we dealing this line manager out of this. I mean, that is one part of it. The second part of it, is we tried as best as possible that people should have a coaching attitude. I mean, those are the only people who have been picked up, right? I mean, if you try to just say that whoever is this grade and above, they are all going to coach, right? It doesn't work, because I mean, they might have reached the grade. I mean, in true sense, everything is perfect, very good. But for coaching, you need a different mindset, as of course, I mean, all of us know. And also, the commitment level has to be very, very, very important. Like I am talked about as I being a mentor, but I also have been a mentee. Okay. I mean, when I have been a mentee, I mean, I have observed the person who was a mentor for me, right? Again, I have had at least 2 or 3 very different, I mean, mentors and coaches, right, with the organization. And I have been a mentor for at least 2, 3 different people, right? In both the cases, at least my own personal experience I can share is, it has been super effective. Okay, right? It has been very, very effective, because the person who has been my mentor in 2 or 3 different mentors, they've all been super committed to the agenda, and they have been very transparent about, I mean, their experiences, and very open about, I mean, how they see development, or what is, really required at the end of the day, for you to develop better, right? That's been my personal experience. And the people who have given me feedback, I mean, as mentee post the program, has also been generally positive at the end of the day, saying that, I mean, they found this, very helpful for them. So going back to your question, I mean, is it subjective? Yes. But I think if you have the right set of coaching people with the right mindset and, attitude, you can make it work. You can make it work, but is it, you need to get the right things together. I think that's critical. It's not a broad brush. I mean, the broad brush, will not work. And that's been our experience, at least, if I had to share it from my side or our side for Henkel.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. Why I asked this question is because the people, as you rightly said, some people who are definitely capable of coaching, but since they are already doing some important job than this, Is it, as a general, your opinion I'm asking, is it better to have internal coaches or can we give it to external people so that their focus will be there and they are professionals in that field? Will it be more helpful? That is my just
No, fair.
being a coach. Being a coach, always I wanted to see
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is that better,
No,
which
no,
is
which
the
is
best.
which is a fair point, bro. Actually, I mean, I think, if the question is also stemming, like, can we also have external coaches? I would say yes. Why not? I mean, it also, will open up, more dimensions which are, different at the end of the day as such. So, I mean, there is merit to have both internal and external coaches. That is absolutely fair to say.
Thank you. That is my thank you very much.
Clear, clear.
So, thank you very much. As we come to the close, there is one question which came in the chat.
Sure.
Sunil, I will just read it out to you.
Yes.
Perhaps a few elements you must have already covered. The question is by Sadhana Somashekar. She's asking, challenges are opportunities for growth and evolution. Is there any particular people challenge at the level of the organization that you have experienced? And how is it being addressed and measured for efficacy?
Yeah, I mean, see, the people part, I mean, you're right. I mean, I guess maybe the point that I covered earlier, I mean, with respect to, I mean, how do you bring the right talent into the organization? I think, is one part which I covered before, is one thing to be kept in perspective. Because, I mean, it is not about just getting more people into the organization, but also, I mean, how do you develop them? So there is, we feel time, energy, and I mean, the right setup. I mean, needed, to develop these people. And what I mean by that is, see, unless otherwise we are not setting up our people, team members, and teams to success, I think, I mean, it would be very difficult later on to sort of, I mean, say that, okay, we find this not very effective, or we are doing, course corrections as we keep on going, into the organization and the timelines, right? So on the contrary, what we are trying to see is, I mean, how do we set this up for success early on, and what is needed, to make the person successful? That means, I mean, do they need to know everything about, I mean, how do you understand compliances, right? I mean, compliance is such an important area, which is only, should not be thought like, is it only left to the compliance officer? No, I think everybody needs to know compliance or safety or ethics or, technical know-how or, whatever that relevant part of the learning part is there, right? So that what happens is, when they have to do their work later on and take bigger responsibilities, they are well grounded, well groomed. The foundations are, laid strong. It takes more time, energy, effort, cost, everything, but I mean, it is worth doing it, rather than, I mean, just getting them and very quickly trying to put them onto the work for which they have taken. So that's what we are trying to, make the change largely.
Thank you. We just have a couple of minutes to close the session, and Jagdish, oh good, you got your mic back. So
yeah,
welcome.
so
Jagdish coordinates a lot of our programs as well. So Jagdish, last question for the day.
yeah. So Sunil, I like the question of front loading leadership and getting it from outside as well. So, and you have a framework as well. So how would you make sure that the transitioning of senior leaders happens seamlessly, given that there is a a predetermined culture, and as you know, leaders bring their own baggage as well. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, see, two parts to it, Jagdish. Thank you for the question first, and good question. Is, see, we largely first take a look, of seeing whether we have internal leaders, and kind of trying to take that more from the internal reason. The reason is exactly what you told. There is a culture, and it becomes much more seamless, for us, to see that, if you are kind of grooming from the internal part, and also it sends the right messaging down the line to everybody. I mean, not only down the line, but also towards the organization, saying that we truly believe in developing people, talent, and things like that. But hearing your question, I mean, let us say where we have also brought people from outside, right? we have spent time, I mean, to, see how much we can, inculcate them or, bring them towards our part of the whole, dynamics and things like that. Like any organization, it takes time, right? But I mean, also we spend a lot of time in the interviewing process, if I could call it that way, with multiple stakeholders, and especially if it is going to be senior roles, then it is quite a long process that I mean the person will have to go through, because we try to sort of look into the cultural fit as a bigger part as much as the job itself. And the third element of it is, can this person not only be thought about for today, but can the person be at least thought of saying that one promotion up, if that role has to be done over a period of time, does this person really fit from that angle? So that's where we spend a lot of time. And once they come in, I mean, then we do know that we can make it and set it up for success, as I told earlier.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. So I think we are fairly on time, scheduled time, and sort of extending it. We should call it a day. So first and foremost, Sunil, on behalf of CFI, Coaching Foundation of India, I extend all our heartfelt thanks for your time and the crisp way in which you have been able to explain. And I'm glad we brought in a lot more time for the Q&A sessions.
Correct.
That was more interesting, and
Correct.
the presentation was pretty crisp.
Correct.
And there were some candid questions also which came up, and you could address them pretty well. If there are more questions coming from our group, I will probably connect them with you or direct them to you, so that there'll always be interesting questions, because Henkel being a large organization, how do we really connect with Henkel and also learn from Henkel, or even contribute into Henkel through the experiences what we have gained? So that's how always the mutual learning process happens. And really, we wish you all the best for further success in your journey, Sunil. Wonderful having you with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hari, and thank you very much, Suresh, and for everybody here, for making this very seamless to me. And also, I'm equally very happy that we spend more time on the engaging part of the session, and more than happy to keep this continuity going, or anything that I can add value. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Hari, especially to you for really putting this together, but also bringing me to this session. So special thanks to you, Hari. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.